This is our third and final research and development episode of Season 4, and I'm so excited to share this study with you. This particular study is entitled Treating the Musician Rather Than the Symptom, the Holistic Tools Employed by Current Practices to Attend the Non-Motor Problems of Musicians with Task-Specific Focal Dystonia. There are psychological, behavioral, and psychosocial factors that contribute to this particular malady. It is not purely caused by neurological factors, and it is not solely rehabilitated through neurologically exclusive therapies. This is the best, most thorough background of focal dystonia I have read in an article about this issue. Anyone, especially you music educators, should give it a read if you need more info about what focal dystonia is. We need to all work together to find the most effective methods to help musicians overcome this malady, as well as work on creating a culture that does not facilitate the psychological determinants of focal dystonia. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. This is our third and final research and development episode of Season 4, and I'm so excited to share this study with you. I've been wanting to do a little bit more content surrounding focal dystonia because a lot of you have been asking for it over the past year. This particular study is entitled Treating the Musician Rather Than the Symptom, the Holistic Tools Employed by Current Practices to Attend the Non-Motor Problems of Musicians with Task-Specific Focal Dystonia by Anna Détári. And I apologize, I'm probably mispronouncing your last name there. And this article was published in the 2023 issue of the journal Frontiers in Psychology. Musician focal dystonia still remains to be somewhat of a question mark for musicians and medical practitioners, and until recently it was thought to be purely a neurological motor disorder that comes out of nowhere. But recent research by people like Dr. Eckhart Altenmuller, who actually happened to be the reviewer of the article that we're talking about today, Dr. Bronwyn Ackerman, and our friends over the Amisher Project like Gabe Radford and Frankie Lacerdo, they're starting to show that there are psychological, behavioral, and psychosocial factors that contribute to this particular malady. It is not purely caused by neurological factors, and it is not solely rehabilitated through neurologically exclusive therapies. For this study, the author interviewed 14 practitioners of various disciplines that had had substantial experience working with musicians with focal dystonia to compare their methods of treatment when it comes to the cognition, emotions, attitudes, and behaviors of these musicians. Before I get into the meat of the article, I just want to give immense credit to PhD candidate, at least at the time of recording this, she is a candidate, but I could be wrong. She may be a full doctor by now. Anna Détári. This is the best, most thorough background of focal dystonia I have read in an article about this issue. Anyone, especially you music educators, should give it a read if you need more info about what focal dystonia is. Hey, real quick, sorry to interrupt the episode, but if you are a musician who's going through an injury right now and you feel like you could use some extra help or some extra coping strategies to help you get through this really sucky, difficult experience, head to musicianunchained.com/let's hang to see if a coaching relationship would be right for you at this time in your recovery. Okay, enjoy the rest of the episode. According to Détári, and I apologize again, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, and if I'm not, I apologize. Quote, the goal of this research was to explore the rehabilitation strategies of various practitioners, particularly regarding the tools they use to enhance their patients' or clients' mindsets, psychological and emotive states, attitudes, and habitual behaviors. One unique aspect of this study, which I was honestly thrilled to see, was that the interviews she conducted were with traditional neurologists, medical doctors, and physiotherapists, but also were with quite a few career musicians who were also dystonia recovery coaches. This was great because a lot of these practitioners have had quite a bit of success helping musicians rehabilitate from dystonia. Also, to use her own words, quote, the lack of literature does not necessarily mean a lack of practice, meaning that many methods that have been proven to be successful with non-traditional practitioners have not been documented in formal research because the practitioners themselves may not have been in traditional research circles. That being said, through these interviews, she discovered that there were three main holistic areas that these practitioners covered with various tools in each area. The first was creating a supportive learning environment and addressing anxiety and perfectionism. Number 2 was using body-oriented methods to optimize the playing behaviors. And number 3, consciously channeling the focus of attention to guide the physical retraining exercises and establishing new habits. If there would be a fourth, it would be bringing in other music educators for the purpose of retraining correct instrument technique as well as normal muscle motor function, which are both essential to successful treatment plans. Later on in the paper, she talks about how educators are usually in the best possible spot to recognize the warning signs of, quote, movement deterioration. These practitioners came to these specific 3 areas because the literature is starting to show that musicians with focal dystonia often may have had some sort of traumatic experience or psychological condition, like, but not limited to, trait anxiety or depression, prior to the onset of symptoms that the symptoms then aggravate. These conditions then necessitate approaching rehabilitation from a more holistic perspective, which is where these 3 topics came from. I want to further illustrate this point with a quote from one of the study participants that was shared in the article. This person talked about the need to dig deeper and how through having a holistic conversation, like getting to know the person, their struggles, their frustrations, you're able to get a better picture of how to help them as a practitioner, right? Makes sense. This person said, quote, "It definitely belongs to the retraining procedure to listen to the people and discuss. Sometimes half the session is discussion. And we go to the piano afterwards, and sometimes they feel also that they need to talk. I don't know if I have some sort of psychologist role, but I sit down and listen. If I skip that," and this is the key here, the person says, "I think that it wouldn't be suitable for the efficiency of what we're doing at the instrument." Hey, sorry to interrupt the episode yet again, but I wanted to tell you that if you are also a music educator of any kind and you feel like this is a conversation that needs to be had for your program, please reach out to me at clark@musicianunchained.com, and we can talk about how we can collaborate together to bring these topics, to bring these strategies to your program to help your students stay as healthy and as happy as they can while pursuing their passion. Keep on keeping on and continue watching the episode. The point is that these holistic conversations, getting to the root of the issues, is essential to the rehabilitation process. Granted, there are many issues that are probably best dealt with by a mental health professional, but this is a critical step in the process. The goal here is to make sure the musician feels heard and accepted, therefore creating a safer environment to go through the trial and error of rehabilitation, which can really take a toll. There's just so much to share from this article, but I want to take the time to share a couple of thoughts from each of the 3 areas as outlined by the author. In addition to creating safe environments, the author outlines approaches to deal with perfectionism and anxiety, such as body-oriented techniques like Alexander techniques or other methods like neurolinguistic programming. In addition to this, the practitioners talked a lot about how giving simple tasks to complete at first to lower the risk of failure and make success attainable, as well as build back the musician's confidence. This is critical. This develops self-efficacy. Finally, within this first tool of creating a safe learning environment, they shared that simply building rapport with the musician is critical. My coach, Steve, he calls rapport safety. That's what rapport is defined as, just creating safety. This puts musician at ease, especially with practitioners who are former sufferers of focal dystonia because they quote unquote get it. With somatic approaches in method 2, I found it interesting that these practitioners talked about correcting overall body movement habits and general body mechanics. This involves finding areas of excess tension in the body and other methods that focus on the whole body at first before getting to that focal direct area. In addition to this, they talk about reducing the fear of specific movement, in this case movements related to playing as well as improving breathing habits. These are so important for even healthy musicians who aren't dealing with dystonia. And just as a side note, my friend Austin Pancner over at The Functional Musician creates amazing content in this space in relieving tension, changing breathing habits, and more, so definitely go check him out. I'll put the link in the show notes. The author at this point talks about how the mental state and the physical state are inseparable due to how the body handles stress and says, quote, "It is imperative to include it," talking about the mental state, in the rehabilitation of the physical state as a therapeutic target. The third group of methods has to do with habits, focus, and nomenclature, or the words we use to describe the movements and techniques we as practitioners are trying to get them to master. And I love this one because I am a sucker for anything that has to do with the type of words we use in injury recovery and techniques to influence our attention focus. Okay, last interruption, I promise you. Before we get to the rest of the episode, I just wanted to let you know that if you're a musician going through an injury and you need a community to help you get through it, if you need a sense of support, some people you can ask questions to, just gain a pick-me-up whenever you need it, the Musician Unchained support group, formerly known as the Trust the Process Podcast Injured Musician Support Group on Facebook. The link is in the description below for you to join. You don't have to go through this alone. Keep on keeping on and enjoy the rest of the episode. The author also states, quote, "Practitioners also acknowledge the fact that the way patients think, focus, and direct their movements cognitively can create significant changes in the quality of the motor output." She then cited some other neurological research dealing with stroke and Parkinson's patients, saying, quote, "They also argue," speaking of the authors in those areas, that the neurocognitive aspect of motor learning should be fully exploited by physiotherapists when attending to patients with musculoskeletal and movement disorders to achieve better treatment outcomes. And lastly, talking about, quote, using carefully chosen nomenclature. This is so important because it helps musicians reframe the situation in their mind, as well as the exercises and even their performance. Guys, I know this was kind of a dense episode, but there was just so much I wanted to share from it that I felt was really important for you guys to know. And I would essentially be reading to you at this point if I shared any more. But the main takeaways are that treating focal dystonia is not just the physical retraining exercises, nor is it caused solely by neurological means or physical means. There are psychological, behavioral, cognitive, and pedagogical precursors. The other main takeaway is that traditional practitioners and past patients of musicians' dystonia have lots to offer dystonic musicians. We need to all work together to find the most effective methods to help musicians overcome this malady, as well as work on creating a culture that does not facilitate the psychological determinants of focal dystonia. Like, how are we facilitating growth-focused environments of compassion and accountability? How are we being intentional about our carefully chosen nomenclature? The author put it best when she said, quote, the three main pillars can be outlined as, number one, creating an accepting and safe working environment for the musician. Number two, being informed about biomechanics of the technique and actively monitoring if the student is playing in an efficient and healthy way. And number three, withstand the pressure from the music industry, which promotes, encourages, and celebrates, quote unquote, perfect and hugely demanding performances. If we all do that and educate ourselves on those 3 points along with the rest of the research, then I believe we will begin to see dystonia numbers go down and successful treatments of dystonic patients go up. So I'm going to sign off. Like I said, it's been a pretty dense episode. I hope you've enjoyed it and learned a lot. And I want you to go read the article. It's actually surprisingly easy to read, even for people who don't read academic. There's just so much more wonderful information in this article, so please go check it out. And I hope this has been beneficial to all of you. I hope you educators have learned something about how focal dystonia works and how to recognize different signs in your students. I hope you musicians who are going through focal dystonia feel like you have another resource in your resource bag to help you get through this experience. And I hope you healthy musicians are able to learn more about focal dystonia through this episode so that you can know what to look out for and how to avoid it as best you can. Obviously, it's not 100% avoidable, but I hope this helps on the journey to staying healthy as musicians. Before I forget, make sure you sign up for the newsletter so that you're getting sneak peeks to the episodes before they come out, as well as articles like this that I share every week and other goodies. So thanks for joining me today. And as always, keep on keeping on. Until next time. Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode of Trust the Process, the official podcast of Musician Unchained, the newest coaching program dedicated to helping musicians navigate and overcome injury. But before you go, I have a few quick ways you can stay connected and support our growing community. If you found value in today's episode, consider making a donation to support our mission of empowering musicians worldwide. Every contribution helps us create more content and resources for you. So visit link number 2 below to support the mission. If you decide to donate, I'll send you my newest resource, the Injured Musician Toolkit, which is an ebook designed to give you tools to help you get through your injury. Subscribe to our newsletter to get exclusive insights, tips, sneak previews of episodes, and announcements straight to your inbox. Act now and I will send you a free gift. So sign up at www.musicianunchained.com/newsletter. And if you or someone you know would like to go deeper with me in the topics of injury and mindset, head over back to musicianunchained.com and check out the Let's Hang tab. As always, I want to thank Daniel Baldwin, my audio engineer, and my sister Dana Lovell for her help with the promotional materials. There is no podcast without them. But before I go, I want to tell you how much I deeply appreciate your time and support. You are not alone on this journey. There are musicians and educators out there who need this resource, and we need to get it to them. Together, we are breaking the chain of old habits and thought patterns that don't serve us anymore, and unchaining the potential within ourselves to face each challenge with strength and resilience. So, as I always say, keep on keeping on, and keep trusting the process. Until next time.